In this video, I want to talk about two things. First of all, to switch off the auto memory in your LLM, no matter if it is Claude or ChatGPT or whatever. There's a much better way to control the persistent memory of your AI. And the second one is that even that I shared a lot about Claude in the previous videos using my local folder, we don't need to use Claude. That's why we built this folder structure from the ground up independently from any LLM. And in this video, I show you proof that no matter if you're using Claude Codex or Gemini or any other local LLM if you might need it, as some have some security worries, they rather want to use a local LLM. All of this works perfectly with this folder structure that I'm showing you in this video. In the end of the video, you get a complete different perspective on how you use your AI with your professional work to get things done and manage your knowledge. It replaces your personal knowledge management. As we say, it's now PKA, Personal Knowledge Assistance. And that's what we actually also show in the new course. Our members can directly download the folder, or you go to GitHub and you can download it for complete free. But if you really want to dive deep, this is what the course is here. And each of the 20 lessons explains step by step how this folder is set up and what we add to the different files. So if we move forward to this, you see here there's then step by step the folder structure building up, and you have the information what's building, and we explain step by step in much more detail than in this video is possible because it takes more time, how everything works under the hood and how this folder is built. So here's the folder that we are talking about, and I will show you step by step what is in the different files and how your AI will work with this folder. And in order to better present this to you, I will use our course that actually in each lesson shows you the different files and folders that we add over time to this, as it is also better when I click into any of these to show you the actual content. So the folder that we are building to have everything local and AI independent is this. We have this deliverables folder where whenever your AI agent is working with you and the team delivers something, it goes into this folder. It's the owner's inbox that we have here. So whatever the team brings back or gives you to review, it ends up in this folder. Then we have the team folder, which holds the different team members of the team. I made several videos about this already. In short, the most important 3 agents in any of these folders are Larry, the orchestrator, who is just whatever you give it to him, he will look into the agent index and sees what agents are available to work with and what he should hand over to this agent. Then we have Nolan. This is the agent who actually hires new team members if necessary. So let's say I want to build an app. We might need a front-end developer. This is not there out of the box. This is something that Larry would recognize that we don't have an expert in this field of expertise. He will reach out to Nolan and ask to hire somebody. And Pax, the third agent in this constellation, is the researcher. So Nolan will ask Pax to go online and research about the best front-end developer to build this, or the best journal writer, or the best designer, or the best accountant, or whatever you need for your personal needs. These 3 agents alone, Larry, Nolan, and Pax, will be enough in this folder to start building your AI team in a way that you need it. Just to give an example how this looks like when you work with them, here's just a set of different agents that I'm personally using that we also provide to our members already to download. But I always recommend just build them for yourself, because using the team as I showed with Larry, Nolan, and Pax, it's much more efficient to build it custom made for your specific needs. Yet if you want, you can have a starting point from my established agents that I'm already using. So you see in this final folder that we end up in the course, there's also Penn, a journal writer, and Felix, a front-end developer. And these are just examples that are created during the course. And this is a personal knowledge assistant. So this means we have a PKM system inside this folder that is very sophisticated because it is based on our myLife concept, which is part of our ICOR methodology. And this is why this goes way beyond just giving you an empty folder and say, okay, you have some goals, habits. No, the team actually knows how to manage this myLife. And if we go into the PKM Like a Pro course, there's the myLife session. And here's where we explain the details about how this works and how you apply this literally to any tool. This is now an example with AI, but we've been teaching this already for over 4 years to our members, how you can become more productive, how you manage your personal knowledge just with this part. But you see, we are going way beyond. We have note-taking like a pro, task management like a pro, project management like a pro, and then automation, which includes the AI layer too. So it's literally a productivity system end-to-end for any business size, solopreneurs and big corporates alike. And this is literally what this team in this folder is capable of to manage. It will be the digital note-taking and the PKM area. So what does this mean in action? Whatever I hand over to Larry, who is the Spock, the single person of contact, whenever you open your Claude Cowork or your Claude in Terminal or your Gemini or whatever, and I show you in this video later on how this actually works in action. I just want to give you a bit more theory up front before we just dive into this. Larry will recognize what you're handing over there, and then he also is aware of all this My Life structure. So let's say you have a screenshot about something that's inspired you. And that's not something that affects your life yet, but it's something you're interested. Larry will decide that this is becoming part of topics. So he will create a new topic in there and he will start managing all this. This new folder structure, by the way, is based on markdown only. So this means, and we can do this in this video later too, we can perfectly open this up in Obsidian, and Obsidian understands the connections of everything. And you can use it with Obsidian if you want. And yet there is an additional lesson already included in the scaffold too. We can ask Larry to upgrade the whole folder into an SQLite database structure, which is much more efficient than using something like Obsidian when it comes to professional knowledge management, and make things much more efficient to access for the AI. Don't worry if SQLite and database seems complex to you. All this does, it gives a much easier structure to access for your LLM to be much more efficient, to surface information, to cross-connect information. And yet it perfectly works fine for personal knowledge, also just using Markdown. That's why this new folder structure that we provide here perfectly works with Obsidian, and you have access to all the file, you control everything that you have. Then we have here this journal, and you see already there's the first example entries where we have something like this. And how this works is we can just hand in a screenshot, as I mentioned, and Larry, together with Penn, who is the journal writer, will create a journal entry out of it. But this goes way beyond just writing down what you have done this day. If you mention any person that is relevant, if you hand over meeting minutes or something like this, the team also has a CRM which manages your people that you have contact with and the organizations, and all of this is cross-connected. We will look at this in the knowledge graph in Obsidian in a moment. There you see the visual connection, but this is just it. And Dr. Schmidt is actually one of the examples that our members go through in this course, because in this lesson, see, there is where this gets created just by simply this mention here. It will then literally create a Dr. Schmidt, which is the details about the person connected to the clinic this person is working in. So you see there are wiki links, everything is cross-connected, and this is what you will do on autopilot. So if I have a business card from somebody, I will just hand it over. It will create all this automatically. And whenever you do daily journaling, it starts then to extend your people database and starts cross-connecting everything. But this is why it's crucial to have the My Life structure in here, because this represents your full life end to end. You will have always interests, which is the topics. You have key elements like your family, your business, your day job, things like this. You have goals that you set for yourself, and you achieve these goals by establishing habits. Everything, all of this is just information. This is not task management or project management. We say here there are projects, habits, that sounds like action, but in the end, it's the information about these action items, and yet you need to organize these actions, as we teach it in ICOR 2, with tools like Todoist or with ClickUp, because this is a complete different complexity level how we represent action in our lives that is much more efficient doing it myself than letting AI do it. But what AI is really powerful in is understanding cross connections of your knowledge, of the things that you gathered over time. Then there's a documents folder. So if I scan any documents, in my case, they end up here. So it will just get organized inside documents. I will have the things there. Images, screenshots, anything like this will be stored there. You might know this from Obsidian. In the end, we are just referencing these things and can embed this in our notes. But this is a perfectly structured organization. And the same would work if you use SQLite databases. It would just reference the original images. So AI will be always able to surface any PDF document that you're looking for, anything that you had, because it has everything indexed, and these are these index.md files. So now in the beginning of the video I mentioned it's completely AI agnostic. I just have a local folder that I already opened here, and what I want to do now, I show you the independence from any AI tool. So I will copy this in 3 times and I will show you the content is always the same. I just changed the number in the end to differentiate between those. But you see the content is always the same. And I will show you that this perfectly works no matter if I use Claude, Codex or Gemini. Any LLM that can access a local folder, even Perplexity Computer would be able to do this, can work within this file structure. And I even show you with Claude Cowork to get started that this is possible. Let's make an example file just for Claude Cowork. There we are. Yes, that's the one that we will use with Claude Cowork. I go into Claude Cowork, choose a different folder, go to desktop, and here's the one that we will use for Claude Cowork. Now I loaded this in. I'm working in this folder now. See, I even use Sonnet here. I can use Opus, but I just want to show you that really with the basic mail, I saw it many times. I'm on a pro subscription for Claude. Of course, you're using the max plan and this works fine. No, this is in fact saving you a lot of tokens because everything is set up very efficiently in this folder. And by the handover to the different agents, you're saving a lot of tokens compared to always letting it scan through everything from the ground up. And we go to this activate your scaffold. How does this work under the hood? Well, this is where this adapter prompt.md file comes into play. That's in this folder. So if you look into this folder, you see here, this is the adapter prompt.md file. And this is what is in there. And what it does, it just tells any LLM to initiate itself inside this folder, but keep things very simplistic and rather forward and reference these agent.md files instead of creating custom skills. So you might have seen endless videos where you can download skills, you can download plugins and whatever for Claude. And this is nonsense in my opinion, because those are all pre-made settings for your Claude that might be overkill, that is loading a lot more tokens in that you actually need. And that's why we keep this very slim and it keeps us independent. So we can switch LLMs, models from Claude, Gemini and so on by simply reading out this adapter prompt. So I can just say, initialize yourself inside this folder. I think this should be more than enough. Testing it for the first time, but I'm pretty sure it will get it. So here it's actually looking now for the Claude.md. So it creates this now. There was no Claude.md file in the first place. It runs now the init skill. So in Claude Code, you would say /init. So what it in the backend actually is doing now, and we are here in Claude Cowork, you see it's still working. It looks into the folder structure and starts to understand what is going on there. It will find this adapter prompt and now will understand how it can plug itself into this local folder. There we go. See, it found the adapter prompt template, and this defined everything for it. It created the Claude.md file. Here you see what's going on. It's creating it right now. And there we go. It created this new Claude.md file in this folder. And if I open this up, you see now it just analyzed what is going on. It recognizes he is Larry now, that he is now looking into agents.md and not Claude.md files. And so on. This is all what happened by just saying initialize yourself in this folder. And you can do this with any folder because this is setting your Claude up in a way so it knows what is the content of the folder. We're doing nothing different here, but you see already he understands now some basic rules of ICOR, single source of truth, where to find things, where to store things. All these things are now there. And if I now say, who are you? He already initialized himself. He now is Larry and he is the team orchestrator at his PKA. okay. So, and I'm running Claude with Penn, PEX, Nolan ready to go. These are the basic agents available in the scaffold. And now I can say, today I met Max Muster and he's working in a huge corporation called Maximize. We had a good conversation about some investments that we could do into one of his businesses. Right, something random, and let's see what he will just react with in Claude Cowork by simply giving some generalistic things. So what I'm expecting now is that he's routing it to the right people, and yes, you can see he's routing it to Penn. Penn is the agent doing the journal entries, as you might remember. So he perfectly hands it over to the right agent. And remember, we don't have any specific agents in a .claude.md file or anything complex, because everything is based on custom folders that we have full ownership and control of. And now I could simply switch over from Cowork to something else. We will see in a moment. Now there you go. Everything is cross-linked. He created this. And now let's open this up inside Obsidian, because this shows you now how flexible this folder structure actually is. So this, by the way, is just an example of my personal knowledge assistants that I had already in place. And I perfectly was able to import all the information, look at this, that I personally have. So you see, I'm using this on a daily basis. Paco is using this on a daily basis, not inside Obsidian. We don't need it. We have our custom built apps around it, but you could perfectly use Obsidian if this is something that you prefer and you like these knowledge graphs and so on. And here you go, there you see there's this index file. That's what people like to see. Even if you're importing these things, you see this grow, all the fancy GIF animations, but in the end there's no magic behind. In fact, Paco and I, we use SQLite databases and have a much deeper interconnection of all the different entities than we could ever have in Obsidian. This being said, let's go here, open Vault. This brings up this window. I can click open. I go to desktop, and here's this folder that we created. When we go in here, just to show you, there's this PKM, there's the CRM, there's people, and there is now Max Muster, so it's the correct folder. I just opened this up in Obsidian, and you see the full folder loads in. Now we are here, CRM, people, Max Muster. I can open it up. You see it created already these properties. So I could now just talk to my AI and say, well, I got the email or phone number, whatever, and I can start storing this like I would manually do this inside Obsidian. But you see it's already cross-connected, because here is the journal entry. So I can click, and here we are, journal 2026, and I'm in my journal entry, and here's the cross connection. And if we go here now to this knowledge graph, you see things are already interconnected. So you saw I started with Cowork in this folder. I didn't do anything with Obsidian to this point, and now I just open it up as a new fold, and as it is all using wiki links, everything is interconnected out of the box. So here you see how things are connected, the different agents index, that just visualizes the context in this folder. But here we go, there's Dr. Schmidt, and he's connected with the clinic, which is the company. If I click here, you see that's the organizations, and this is stored as an organization. And here we go, there's Max Muster, and there's the interconnection between Maximize, the company that we mentioned, and here's the entry that I can go to, and you see the full context there. So you can imagine now handing over just your meeting minutes, the transcripts that you get from a meeting, to your AI, and it starts now on autopilot, interconnecting all these things. And that's the powerful thing that we have here, and that you can see also in here. But this is something that happens on autopilot, and obviously this goes way beyond just this, because I showed you in another video that I built the whole membership platform and the courses and all this using just Claude Code. But it was not just using the chatbot of Claude Code. It was literally this setup that you have here, where inside the team knowledge there is where standard operating procedures that describe perfectly what the different agents should do, which you might know as skills in Claude, but this is the real world equivalent. So if I'm working with human teams, I would create standard operating procedures to tell my experts how they should work inside the company. And now having it separated in a team knowledge folder, this makes it much more efficient, because I built a single source of truth that I just need to update this one file, and all the other team members will leverage from this if they need to use the same standard operating procedure, for example. And then we have also work streams already integrated here. One work stream is already the daily journaling, and this is describing the process map, how the agents work. So do you need to create these files? No, because this is what Larry will do. And the combination of Nolan, who is hiring the agents and creates this skill set for these agents. So Nolan, the hiring agent, has in his agents MD all the instructions how to hire a person and the references in here. So we have also guidelines here, okay? This is the naming convention, for example, that many more different agents are referring to, not only one. And that makes it so efficient to set up, because then just using an index file, they know very quickly where to look into, and that saves so much tokens. So just with this in mind, I have here now a team inbox where I can hand over, for example, my scanned documents. I can even directly scan in here, because remember, we are here on a local folder on my drive. I can synchronize this with Dropbox or a G Drive or whatever, have it backed up and accessible from anywhere else. I saw people saying that they have issues using something like Dropbox or iCloud, that things are breaking. This only happens if you try to use the same folder on different devices in parallel. But if I work on one device and then later on a different device, this is never an issue. So I can perfectly work this way. And now this is still the one folder. This is now set up with Claude Cowork, but I can perfectly now right click on this folder. I say new terminal at folder, and now I can use the terminal version of Claude. I just launch Claude, and here you go. I just say, who are you? Without doing anything else. The first prompt is, who are you? And he immediately says, I'm Larry, your team orchestrator, and so on. And now I can say, do you know anything about Max? And here we go. He found Max Muster, all the information. He found the wiki links, how it's interconnected. He recognizes that there are no details yet. And that's where I prefer to build now a custom interface to represent these databases or whatever you want. And that's something we can do in a different video. And in fact, that's something we will provide as add-ons inside our membership too, where you can simply plug things in like Slack integration. Okay, so I could talk to this local folder through Slack, or the Telegram integration that so many people seem like to use. Also, I would prefer Slack in this case, because I can have much more structured conversations with my AI. Well, a whole other video about this. So now we are here with Claude Code. We in the beginning created these other copies of the same folder. So let's see what happens if I launch this inside Gemini. And I'm opening here the CLI. Don't worry if this is all too complex. All I'm doing here is launching Gemini inside CLI. I could also go to anti-gravity, opening it up there. Whatever can access this folder, it will work. So I'm here now in Gemini. He's now inside this folder. And now I can just say init, because there's a command init, or I would say like in Cowork, initialize yourself inside this folder. And he will do exactly the same thing. That's the crazy thing. People worry about what agent should I use, what's the best model, and so on. If you are not into coding and you really want to get on the edge of the best thing, I wouldn't worry at all, because most of these models are more than enough to handle your personal knowledge, especially if you have it set up the way as it is in this folder, because everything is interconnected and it makes any model very efficient. So while Gemini is launching here on this folder, let's open up in parallel another terminal on Codex. And Codex is in fact ChatGPT, right? That's OpenAI, and Codex is just a version like we know from Gemini and Claude that allows you to access this. ChatGPT is just a chatbot, something we never use, because getting back to the beginning of the video where I mentioned you should switch off the memory, this is where you have now the memory in the local folder. So if I go here again into the terminal and I launch Claude again in here, you can have /memory. And here you can switch on or off these memories, see? And I like to have this switched off here. Why? Because the auto memory will just randomly grasp the things that AI considers that is useful to you. And especially if you do this now in Claude, and with all the things that they are publishing about the custom agents, and you can give it names and so on, now you are stuck inside Claude. Just keep this in mind. The more you use this desktop application and you now use the convenience that they provide to you here and use this auto memory and so on, you get a feeling of, yeah, it improves over time, it remembers me and so on, but you will never reach this efficiency level than having a proper local folder structure where you know how things are set up and make AI work in the way that it works best for you. And that's why I always switch off any auto memory that these AI agents provide, because what we have instead is just close the session, and we can have even the command built there in. And what it will do, whatever you talked with it, because we didn't talk much to in this, we just launched memory in this session here, but it will now go through the directions, it will understand what you discussed about, and it will make a session log. And you see here, it's already finding everything perfectly. So if we look into the folder structure and we go into the team knowledge, there's the session logs, and here you see the logs, and there's nothing in there yet. He's creating it now. And this ensures that this is proper permanent memory. Okay, so you see it created now this MD file. I can perfectly open this up and see what was the conclusion of the team after the session. And this becomes really powerful. I'm talking here about just starting out with the folder, but imagine that you use this for weeks. This builds up over time. Anything that you say, oh, you went off rail, optimize this. Whenever you say then close the session, it will create these logs, or just mid-session, you say keep this in mind, it will create these log files, and therefore can go backwards in time. When you say, well, last week things worked much better, it can review now all these session logs to understand what was going on. And this is much better than the auto memory that is just random and never so comprehensive and context connected than building it this way. Now you see for the other two agents, they launched. So we have here OpenAI Codex. I can also say init, but I also say the same as I said before. Initialize yourself inside the folder. So this one is in this folder, and here's Gemini in this folder. And you see here, it read all the files, it understood this, it found the adapter prompt automatically. You see, oh, I didn't do anything. I didn't give it a specific prompt or anything. It just looks through the folder because AI is intelligent enough and has enough context window to understand whatever is going on in this folder. And now it launches itself in there, and I say, yeah, just do everything necessary, and it will create a Gemini MD file now, very likely. So if we now open up this folder from Gemini, we see it created now a Gemini.md file. For anyone who has now the questions, could I use several different agents in the same folder? Absolutely you can. I could now use just one folder, point all the three of them onto the same folder, and I say initialize yourself, and they will just create what they need on top of what is already there. But the beauty is everything links in these basic folders now. Instead of loading everything into these Claude.md files and so on, it's offloaded into external information and it's cross-connected. And that makes it just a starting point for these LLMs to initialize themselves, to understand what's going on in the folder. And then they work perfectly inside this folder structure without the need to have see, there is no, in this one, for example, there's no .claude file. And yet it recognizes that there are agents, it should work, and it should launch the different team members. But there's no .claude.md file or created any skills or agents, because this lives all in here, in these agent.md files, and they get loaded the moment Larry needs support from these team members. And here we are, Codex. I said initialize yourself. He already recognized out of the box that he is Larry because he read the files. He loaded the routine table. And the thing is, Codex is actually using agents.md, so there's not even confusion going on. It just uses already agents.md, so that's why there is no big initialization necessary. And now I just use a random image screenshot. I just paste it in here. See, it adds as an image, and I say create a journal entry about the launch of membership. And now it uses this image. Here we in Codex, keep in mind. And I can do the same here in Gemini, so we have it all. So I again use this image, just paste it in here, and I say the same thing. I copy paste what we have in here, just paste it in here and do the same. And here we're in Gemini, here we're in Codex, and it will perfectly work. I'm routing this to Penn. See, it recognizes the team roster, who is responsible for what. This is a capture request with a screenshot. Penn will create today's journal. Penn has enough. They read, they look at the image, what is there. He creates now the journal entry, and he created it. He gives me now the link to the file. So I open up this folder in the PKM journal. So if we go here, PKM journal 2026 May. Here we go. There's the launched based on my name conventions. If I open this up, there we go. There's all the information that we have. It cross-connected the wiki entries. Okay, but it didn't save the image yet. That's something you can perfectly do. It just didn't have the access to this image. So how I would usually do this, I can always open up this folder, have the team inbox here. I drop the file in here, and then I say, I've provided the image in the team inbox. So in this context, that's how I would start working on it. Now it has the image available inside the team inbox. I could hand it over in the team inbox and say, create a journal out of this. But also if you're using this, let's say with computer access, it would have perfectly access to the image and, integrate it. So you see it disappeared already from the team inbox, and now it moved it into the right position. Here we are. And then let's see in Obsidian, here we are. This is the folder that the Codex was just working in. Here's the entry, and here's the screenshot with the context below. So if you want to have an interface out of the box, this new scaffold perfectly works. You saw I didn't use any Obsidian CLI, anything. It's not necessary. Obsidian is just recognizing wiki links, and even the properties it's recognizing because it's set up based on wiki handling. There's nothing specific to Obsidian to understand this, that Codex is now trained to use Obsidian. No, you can now simply either open this up in Obsidian and visualize it, or use any other tool that can read markdown or wiki files, or build your own interface. It's really up to you, and you're really independent. And if you want to have proper databases, it's just one prompt to switch to SQLite. So I could say now switch to SQLite. It will know what this means because the instructions are also in and now it will convert this markdown structure into SQLite if you need it. For most people, the markdown is more than enough, and they prefer rather to see it transparent like in here, rather than having a database and then you need different visualizations. And for Gemini, you see, the Gemini was able, it used the image, it moved it into the right folder, and it's already there. So this was the Gemini folder. Let's also open this up in Obsidian. Here's now the Gemini folder that worked in here. So you see here's the Gemini MD. We are in this folder. You can perfectly see what's going on. And if you now go PKM, images, here's the image saved. And with Gemini, you have exactly the same solution. So now you can imagine for yourself, if you start working with this, all the use cases, all you really need is to hand over whatever you have. Daily journaling was never that easy. I can talk to AI, I can audio capture myself, it's on the go, many things that I can do now this way, and I can endlessly expand my folder here. But in the end, I don't care if one of these companies decide to increase token pricing or anything like this. I can keep switching to the cheapest if it is necessary, or depending on security, or having a local LLM. So many things. But as you have seen just with these 3 examples here, it always works the same out of the box. And it's all based on local folders and instructions that are based on a tool agnostic methodology that defines this work between the agents end to end, but also how to structure your PKM based on the MyLife concepts and all the things that we teach in my ICOR to our members and here on YouTube, obviously. If you really want to dive deep into how this was set up, you can go into our new course that's now available to our members, where we show step by step how this folder structure was built. So in each lesson, you see how these different folders get added and why we add these and what is in these folders and why are there, because there are descriptions below that dive really deep into this. Or you simply go there and download the scaffold and get started right out of the box. And then there is this AI library where we also will add new modules that allow you now to expand the scaffold with a block system. So you can say, I want to have this agent, I want to have connection to Slack, I want to have X. That's where we will have a lot more modules coming up, where we first explain how it is done, but also provide you just an out-of-the-box folder extension or prompt, whatever you need in order to get this started. But I hope, even without going through the course, that this video gave you really the right inspiration, how you can build this up. Obviously, we are using the MyLife concept, and that was not the topic of this video today, how everything gets organized based on goals, habits, the key elements, projects, and topics. But how the team works, how to make a folder independent from your AI that you're using. This was the key message that I wanted to get across in this video, but also why you shouldn't use these auto memories and things like that. And maybe think again if it might be worth for you to also switch to the terminal mode, even that doesn't look so fancy. You at least have full control in a raw format to your folder structure, or you integrate it into Obsidian, as I showed you in another video, how you can perfectly run your AI inside Obsidian, inside the terminal there, and access the folder structure there. This is the follow-up video as well for all these people who wanted to see the team working inside Obsidian. Well, and let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Are you already using the scaffold? What's your experience with it? And I cannot wait to catch you up in another one where we will dive deeper into any of the extension modules that we have available. Catch you up in the next one.